just an announcement. Make sure all your friends, all the students have joined us. We'll be taking in the attendance at the strict rule. Ask all your friends to come in quickly. We'll be commencing soon. The wait is finally over. The time has finally come, and we are all ready to witness the moment we have been waiting for. Turn on the engines. Put on. Fascinating ride is about to begin.
Huge gap on what optimally should be using resources. Therefore, our first panel spins around Melisses of the Matriarch, a working mother's conundrum that aims to unfold all that has been, currently is, and most importantly, should be provided to a working mother, and finally discussing potential solutions to this severe roadblock. And we are ecstatic to have the opportunity to host such accomplished panel of 5 intellectual HR experts to drive this discussion. It is a great honor to introduce them.
With 17 plus years of industry experience, Ms. Namita is an accomplished HR leader with an eye to build top-tier, high-growth teams. She is a strategic thinker with deep business acumen. She is currently the Director Talent Acquisition at Nike and has worked in plethora of pioneer companies along her journey. Featured in 101 Top Global D&I Leaders, recipient of Femina Women Super Achiever Award, winner Best Employer Brand Development Award are some of the accolades from the humongous and the grandiose list we have. We now welcome you, ma'am, onto the stage. Please have your seat.
Next, I would like to welcome someone with over 15 years of HR experience and currently associated with Z Media Corporation Limited as Senior HR Business Partner and Talent Lead, Ms. Kanika. Previously associated with organizations like TV18 Broadcast, NDTV, and Heinware, she has been instrumental in defining various HR policies and processes revolving around transformation, talent acquisition, employee engagement, retention, and much more. Welcome, ma'am, onto the stage, please.
A business pioneer in human resource, Ms. Pragya Singh has a rich experience in capability building and leading talent agenda for eminent organizations like Deloitte Consulting, KPMG, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. An expert in end-to-end talent recruitment, she is currently associated with PepsiCo as an associate director. She is a recipient of multiple awards like the Young Turk of Year 2022, 40 Under 40 Emerging HR Leaders by the Economic Times HR World. We welcome you, ma'am. Please have your seat.
Joining us now is the Associate Director and Talent Acquisition at Zycus, Ms. Neelam Roy. Previously associated with blue chip organizations like Capgemini, Malabs, currently she is invested in building Zycus Infotech. With a vast experience of over 20 years in talent acquisition, she is a well-known name in both product development and IT consulting companies. Her expertise spans across cross-cultural talent hiring. Her expertise handling recruitment programs makes her a valuable asset in HR management. Welcome on board, ma'am. Please join us on the stage.
Ms. Ritu Raina is a prominent HR currently associated with Amdocs and has a past experience in organizations like Reliance Infocom, Tata Group, Godrej, HDFC Bank, and Quick Heal. She's a prominent name like ET HR World, People Matters, HR Katha, and many more. Ritu ma'am is also a key member of the Diversity Forum Mentor to the stage. Please have your seat.
We now request Dr. Baljeet Singh sir to present all of our guests with a token of gratitude.
With such a pronounced beginning, we understand it would be a hefty task for all of you to control your alacritic enthusiasm. So hereby, without any ado, let's start with our first panel. The moderator for this panel is Dr. Meenakshi Kumari. She is an alacritic person in herself and would direct the flow of the panel for us. Ma'am, over to you. Thank you so much.
A very warm welcome to the HRC director, faculty, colleagues, officers and staff of IIM Jammu, panel members, eminent panel members, if I can say, and the students of IIM Jammu. Actually, an honor for me to host this, not in terms of the composition only, but also in terms of the title or the theme that we are touching. And it actually is touching the better halves of all our lives, basically, we can say, and the policies that are made that particular. Without any further delay, I would like to start this particular session. And before we begin with other details or other opinions of this session, I would like to bring out some statistical facts on which we can start our session, which I came across while preparing for this particular session, was a report on women and work in India, and that has been published by India Briefing. So the report says, surprising to see that India's labor force participation rate, which is technically referred to as LFPR, has not only strangled at much below the global average of 47%, and several years that this data refers to, but has declined considerably in the recent years, despite experiencing structural improvements that relate to, healthcare initiatives that have been taken specifically for the women, and also the kind of educational level that women so would be basically on two aspects of the society, and that too the women labor force. When we talk about women labor force, there are two categorizations that we can do. First is those women who are in the leadership positions, or you can say that they have a say in the decision making. The other category that we refer to are the women who are involved in the transactional decision making, or some roles that they execute in day-to-day life kind of business roles. Since we have paucity of time, this idea in itself is very exhausting, but we will restrict to the kind of challenges that we face when we have the leadership roles that we take up. And the panel is, eminent enough to justify with that kind of a sector that we are referring to. So the idea of this whole panel discussion is to give certain directives to the current leaders and also the future leaders that we are building at our IIM systems. So before we start, a big round of applause for the lady power on the dais. Yeah. So no panel discussion is complete unless we call for certain personal experiences which justify or establish the theme. So maybe I'll start with ma'am, Namita ma'am, if she can give certain ideas or certain thoughts about from her personal experiences related to this theme.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Meenakshi ma'am, for putting this question first to me. It's just that it happens when you start first. Sometimes you will have more attention and all the attention. So, hope you will enjoy the rest of the discussion. And if you have any questions, we would. I think we will have those that time also. So, Meenakshi, as I was gone through, and especially like it is not an easy path for any of us to be reaching there where we are today, and the journey is still there. It's like the picture is abhi baki hai, right? So in the beginning of my career, like when 5 years of my career, I had a life event when I had my baby born, and I had to decide whether I have to continue working, which is my passion, and or have take care of my premature baby who was like just too much young for me to take care of. I resigned at that time from my organization, citing this particular reason. It was taking an impact on my health, sleep deprived, migraine, and not what everything actually for that matter. And that the guilt feeling, right? That, oh, I'm not able to get time. And that's when I think everyone really conspired in a constructive way for me to really ensure that I have that continuity in my journey. That I'm talking about like 12 years back. My son is 12 now. Where my leader, she was a female boss, and she actually shared her story with me, and she told me that, you continue, if you are doing this, you will be, later on, you'll be regretting. And that's when she gave me a work from home for 3 weeks, like precisely 3 weeks, and giving me that option to be in a place where there was, first of all, there was no work from home facility 12 years back. And secondly, I was working in Bangalore, and she gave me an option to be in Calcutta to my in-laws' place, whereas my parents were not in India, so that no one was there to come and help me. And my son, was too delicate to even put into a daycare or something like that. My family, my boss, my husband, my parents, my in-laws, everyone came together. And that's a mindset change that I was lucky enough to get 12 years back from my family. And now when we are talking about pandemic triggered, many things have changed. We have to see that, can we really come forward and do a little more and then more than that? So if you say that it is declining, that the LFPR, which you said, like is declining, there are multiple reasons to that. And also we are not really, calculating the unorganized sector also, there, which is nowhere captured as such, where females are equally working, but yes, it has declined. Pandemic did some of the changes, and then how it is changed positively, how it is changed something which is still requires some attention. I think when we progress in the conversation, we'll talk more about it. But one thing which stood with me always is, it is us who are making those changes, who are making those things possible. If you don't have that, it's true. So taking some cues from what Namitaji has said, I would like to put some question for Kanika. So if you talk about the social setup, which we refer to about when we say that these are the women who are taking the leadership role, and the unorganized sector that she is referring to, you will see in the unorganized sector, there are certain roles which are given only to women. If you talk about certain jobs in healthcare also, the preference always is to women. But if that's the fact, and that's where we are talking about the equality, is the notion of equality really there, or is there something else?
To my experience, I have been working in media industry for last 15 years. I was a young kid on the floor, and today after 15 years, I've gained a lot of perspective of how this gender equality and, the subject revolves around. See, some roles, for me, all the roles should not be defined as per gender, but still there's a notion that, if we have to put someone on the front desk, then that should be a girl or a woman. Which has, I think, which is not there too much now, but then still there is a notion that if we have a good face sitting on the front desk, then it makes an impact, which is good, that's all right. But yes, there's still, we have gone, we have progressed in this particular aspect, but still there are a few roles that we might think that, okay, a woman or for my personal experience, I have never thought that I'm a girl or and I can't do this thing. So in my approach, even when I had my son born, he's now 9 years, I never thought of leaving my job. Never ever. This idea came into my mind. Maybe I was lucky enough to have my parents around to take care of him, or I turned the situation to happen that way, that I took their support. But there are still many women who fight against this, that who will take care of their child once he or she is born. And they do a lot of struggle. And the bad or the unfortunate part is that even in the family members, even if their mother-in-law also doesn't think about, being a lady, they don't even think about, they expect the woman to do household work, then go to office, come back, give them the salary, give the salary back to the house. So all of this is still happening in, in this Western world, which as HR, for me, connection is very important. And I feel that, people should talk about their problems or issues so that they can be addressed. So yes, we've gone a long way. And for me, men should understand more than women as to what are the challenges and what are the hardships of a woman. I start in the morning 5:30, I come back at 10 in the night. So I have to get my son ready, send him to school, go to, and I travel in Delhi traffic. So yes, so I'm saying more than the world, the person inside us should motivate us to be there. We shouldn't be dependent on our husbands or on our male colleagues for their help, right? You should know how to drive, you should know how to conduct in this outside world. So there are a lot of corporate politics happening across, of course there's a patriarchy thought still existing that women, how can women be ahead of us? So all of that is still there, but then we should have our mindset, and we should have positive attitude towards life and towards all the life situations. So yeah, I think I'm able to answer some of it.
Yeah, I think on the equality side, if we talk about, first of all, we have to really stop thinking that woman income is a secondary income. It is not the case. And that's when a lot of time we have seen the organizations. Luckily, I have not experienced that in wherever I worked currently also. But people should not think that, okay, this job can be done. Maybe she's coming at a lesser compensation. So let's give her a percentage hike equivalent to that. Instead of that, like in my current organization also, what we are looking at, that we have the comp ranges, irrespective where you are, right? In your salary package, maybe in the previous company might have been something different. But when you're coming here, you are given a comparable compensation. That's the equality I'm talking about, the equality which you bring with respect to the work that you would be doing. And in my current organization, if you get a chance, go to Nike FY21 impact report. And this is a publicly available information, nothing fabricated here. For every $1 that a man is earning, a female is also earning in the organization. And that's a deliberate effort that is required to be taken. Because if we are not, and we are sitting there at that level where every offer that comes to us, we are approving. We also require to ask those hard-hitting questions that, okay, if the person is going to do the same job, why we are still giving less? Why we are not putting that? That's our responsibility. But many of you will start working in future when you're talking about equality. Ensure that you don't shy away from asking. Ask, because if you're not making that change, right? Asking what you deserve, thinking, okay, it's fine. Getting that salary is okay for me. And this is, I'm talking about the conference side. There are multiple other equality, the attributes that we can talk about, but compensation, which not typically driven is the pay gap we talk about, which will be a subsequent topic for you in the later part of the day. Please ask, don't shy away. You know your worth, ask for that. As an organization, it's our responsibility to bring that equality on the pay gaps and equal opportunity and providing that in an environment. But if you're not getting that environment, don't shy away, speak about it and get that. And gradually we'll solve this problem. There are a lot of things we have come a long way and still we have to walk a little further.
Sure. I just want to add, this brings me to the point that, first of all, many people think that why we talk so much about diversity. First of all, let us understand the world is not equal. If the world would have been equal, we would have never spoken about it. We would have lived happily in this. Now we have to make the world equal. But in order to make the world equal, it's again not something we want to create a cosmetic change or nice to have. I'm sure COVID was a great example. If you look at the countries who dealt with COVID the best, where the country is led by women. Why so? Because women have an ability to deal with ambiguity. They have an ability to multitask and make decisions, and they are resilient. So as we move forward to the world, which is the new century, which is coming ahead of us, we have to bank on the right talent. Now, what is the definition of a right talent? A right talent is gender agnostic. Now, when my friend here said that someone who's good looking at the reception, it is a capability. A guy can have, a girl can have, doesn't really matter. So start looking at it as a talent. And the biggest challenge I think you all as young students will deal when you go to the corporate is society and organizations are based on mental models. And these mental models are deep rooted. Why are they deep rooted? Because someone in the erstwhile era said a woman can bear a child. So she has a biological clock. For her biological clock, it is her responsibility, and someone else will do some other job. Automatically, there's a language which goes in the house. The same man goes to the organization. He has a language which he heard from his home. And there's a lady who walks in the interview. The first thought which comes to his mind is, she will have a biological clock. Will my work get affected? So what is important is to challenge those mental models. And I really want to share a data point here. I work for a company which is, of course, it's a NASDAQ listed, but we have a huge workforce which is based out of Israel. And when I was looking at the data, in Israel, we have, out of the whole workforce, 44% women. In India, after a lot of efforts, we made it 32%. Now, eventually, when they grow, in India, we saw an evaporation, which means when they reach the leadership roles, they're only 21%, while as they're still in 30s. Now, why I want to give this example? Because this example is connected to the mental model. Of course, there is a woman in India and there's a woman in Israel. But the way the language has been going around them, and eventually the language is not only for her that you are capable, the language is for the other gender also, that she is a human being and she has capabilities and you need to partner with her. So eventually this starts getting deeper. I think you as a younger generation will have a lot of role to play in this. And if I go to the data which Meenakshi ma'am shared here about why it is decreasing, because there is a lot of stress coming in the society. Though there is a modernization does not mean that you have evolved as a society. Fashion does not mean you have evolved as a society. So who is creating that stress? That stress is creating because of the performance pressure the younger generation has. Please reduce that performance session. Try to go deeper and challenge the mental models. Sometimes when you enter a workforce as a male and you ask yourself question, let me look at the talent. And then you are as a female, you ask yourself question, I'm a human being, I'm a person, and I have something to deliver. And this is a very funny example I want to share. I had a colleague in Israel and I was having a conversation with her. So we were closing some presentation on a topic. And suddenly in the conversation, she stopped. Her name was Inat. So I said, why did you stop? She said, allow me 5 minutes. So there was some signal issue. She was from the car taking. And I knew she's pregnant. And she's telling me, you know what? I am 9th month pregnant. What I try to do, I try to take a road which is very near to the hospital because baby can pop out anytime. Think about the way, so since they go to army after they're 12, how they are brought up. Now, of course, we do not have those opportunities, but our mind can create those opportunities, which means having a child is normal. It's a part of my biological process. Why should I really make a hoo-ha about it? And so what is important is not to take things as they are, not okay. So not to take things as they are, but you are the ones who can really create the future. Start challenging the mental models. Start becoming a part of the journey where you create new mental models. I think that is where we can really, really go a long way.
Sorry for this inconvenience. Okay, would you like to add something? Yeah.
I would like to add two things here, Ritu. As she said, we are all not equal. World is not equal. World is not equal. But there's a new trend. I don't know how many of you know about it. There's something called as equity. So what is equity? Equity is something, the difference which we need to provide. We don't need to give everybody equal. Why should we give equal? Somebody has something less. We will give that person that gap of it. And that's what I believe in. I think now we have come much way ahead. We were talking about, as Ritu said, gender diversity is very agnostic. So we are just now much above that. Now we have come in that equity form, where we should be giving people, provide those things which is less in some person. It can be irrespective of the diversity. Somebody has something less in an organization, we see in that way. We don't look at, okay, because we are a woman or the other person is a male, should be given this or that. No, I think we even the training and everything is provided as per your requirement, as per an HR. We find people every year what is required in that, what is shortage, what is this person requires to improve. So we provide accordingly. I feel that is the trend. If it is respect to diversity, or also I'm seeing political, social, everywhere, equity is the trend which we should look upon. I'm also, I was listening to Mr. Sahai. He said, what does kick you, or what does give you something to do your job, or make sure that, you're very happy doing your work. So for me, it's a woman. Being a woman itself kicks me, or tells me that, okay, you are good, because I can do much more than anybody else. And that's why, by biologically, or God has given that for all the women, that gift, that we can do multitasking more than anybody else. And that's why I can drive at the same time. I can take con calls. I can look after, I can take my con call now working from home. I can also look at the cook what she's cooking. I can see what my kids are doing. So I'm very motivated by being a woman itself. So I don't think so. We need to fight for that equal fact. That's what is my thought.
Yeah, Pragya wants to add something. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, great. So thank you, Meenakshi. I would like to add something here. So initially, when you asked this question, your question was directed towards the fact that there are women in a certain segment, and that segment, I think that you were alluding to, was the lower segment, probably talking about maids, talking about the nurses, talking about people who are in the underserved or underprivileged communities. And I want to share with you, and I think you also shared certain data points. You would be interested to know that 4 out of 5 women in India are not part of the workforce. And we are such a huge country. Yeah, 48% of our entire talent pool is female, out of which 60% are literate, as compared to 80% men who are literate. So this equality that you were referring to, that does this equality really exist, and does this equality really belong to the industry as a whole? If we talk about the really highly intellectualized groups like this panel, for that example, or really big organizations, maybe we all are working towards that equality, and we're still working towards that equality. Think about the segments that we've not spoken about, the nurses, the maid servants that we were talking about. How did the pandemic hit them? A lot of them, about when we looked at the data, that how did unemployment hit during pandemic? It impacted women a lot more than it impacted men. A lot of women were put out of jobs as compared to men because of the kind of jobs they were in. In such a situation, I think there is always a need to have a conversation like this and to educate ourselves and the young leaders of tomorrow that this conversation is not for vain. This is a real subject. This is a very, very real subject that touches a very large segment of our population. 48% of all of us are women. No society, no country, not even the world can grow without marginalizing such a huge segment of population. Forget about an organization. Thank you.
Very, very true.
When you spoke about the gap, I used to work for HDFC Bank many years back, and we used to have the most successful roles for women were the branch managers. The highest revenue, which was being, but they would never want to go to the zonal head roles. And when we used to have the career conversations, why? It's a lot of travel, it's a lot of responsibility. Now, I'm referring back to the mental models because even though I'm capable and I can go forward, now when you all work enter the workforce, it is your role, as Namita was saying, that encourage them because they will be able to do. Not only that, in my current organization, we recently wanted to really improve our leadership roles. And when we looked at the data, we took the data from the performance management. And it was very interesting to see in the 9 box, there were many females. We said, let us, have a career conversation with them and let us tell them, take the technology role and all that. When we would go to them, they said, no, I'm happy where I am. I have reached a director level. I don't want to go beyond that. Why you don't want to go? No, it's disturbing for me. Why it is disturbing? I don't know how the new boss would be. Will it involve international travel? So now, if we have to create an equal world, we have opportunities at 2 places. One is an opportunity of enablement because they are entering, they are not progressing. So in enablement, one is the self of role of all of us who are the young girls here who will enter the workforce. Don't get stopped by anything. Second is the role of their counterparts, who could be their colleagues or who could be their managers. And more than that, irrespective of all of this, when we really screen the CVs, there are many tools organizations have created where you don't have biases when you screen a CV, because bias is very, very predominant when you talk about equality. Even before, when women walks in, he decides he or she can do this job or not. So there are tools which have been devised to remove those biases. I think, of course, tools can do a great job. It created another kiosk was done in one of the large companies. But we need to work on our own biases as young professionals. Women for biases about themselves and men for biases about women, because that is the only way we will be able to, this is a gradual change. It will not happen overnight. But, as my friend said, it has to start. The conversation has to happen because we are in an unequal world.
I would like to add here a few things. So being a talent leader, my job is to do the recruitment day in and day out. And always the diversity is something which we have to keep up. So whenever I start the year, I get a figure, we are at this point in the diversity. You have to reach, my target is to reach some particular number. And I always see end of the year, I would have achieved some number. But then again, when I talk about numbers, I see the junior and the mid-level, I'm able to achieve. But I don't have, my CEO asked me, Neelam, where are the leaders, women leaders in the group? So the gap is there. I see the women leadership is not there. So that the reason being, as Ritu and Pragya was saying, we basically tend to compromise on our career. From the college, everything is all good, campus, and then suddenly we get married. Who'll take the break? You take the break. The girl is taking the break. Kids, the girl is taking the break. So there is a break everywhere in the career. So she's pulled back in the career line. And she has to reach certain leadership level where she's not there. So I feel, all the women, all the girls who are here, do not do that. Do not take a break. I'm very sure, like all of us, all of you have that caliber and capability. Along with the family, along with having children, you can grow and you can reach wherever you like. I would be looking at, down the line after a few years, only women in the leadership role. Obviously men will be there, but Yeah, I mean, here I'm very happy to see that 5 of us are sitting. I'll tell you, many of the HR meet I've gone and I've seen all men, only I'm one woman because of the travel. Not that women are not there. They don't want to travel on weekend. They don't want to travel from this part of the country to that part because there is at home, there are kids and there are multiple things. And that's the hit what we take. I think we should not do that.
Yeah, so the interesting conversation basically is taking a very interesting turn. See, if what I understood or what I have taken forward from here is that the social structure somewhere is getting disturbed because of the kind of professional inclination we are taking. It's a mandate also. Reason being, India needs people. India needs people to work for them, and it need not to be just the male. We are competent enough. We have to realize that. That's one point. But the thing is, when we talk about women participation, the social structure is badly hit. Reason being, either there is a lack of support from the ecosystem that we belong to. That could be from home. That could be from your professional world, whatever we refer to. But there are two sides of this story also. When I say that I have a colleague who's a male colleague, when it comes to my office or when I am working with him, he's just a colleague. But the same person is a life partner for someone. Are the considerations same when we talk about, having the professional kind of an expectation and the same person getting into some kind of a personal expectation when he transits or steps into a place called home?
I think the responsibility lies on this generation. I have a boy and a girl. My son is 16, my daughter is 12. It's very, very important. How do I bring them up? Because they are going to come to the workforce as and when they grow up. And I just want to really share an example. My mother-in-law had come and she told my daughter that you make tea. She said, why? Bhaiya is there. She said, nahi, bhaiya nahi bana sakte hai chai. Bole, kyun? Bole, wo ladka hai. And my daughter came to me. She said, what does it mean? Is he a different human being? Just think about the inquisitiveness. I said, no, beta, he's not. Why he can't make it? I spoke to my mother-in-law. But the thing is, how do we bring out our kids? Is a social responsibility, all of us who are here parents. Because doesn't matter he's a boy or a girl, everyone has to eat. Everyone has to do their chores. If we start inculcating them as those human beings who are responsible for themselves and people around them, it will start bringing a change, right? A typical mother-in-law conversation, mera beta thak ke aaya hai. Ladki bhi thak ke aayi hai, right? She will still put her bag down, go to the kitchen and make a tea and serve it, right? Now, I think whatever was past. But as and when we move forward, irrespective of our professional role, we have a societal role. And societal role is, how do I bring up my kids? How do I create the language? Now, for example, I could have just cut off my daughter's language and said, no, he's a boy or a girl. Of course, I didn't do that. Now, that is the responsibility of all of us. So that when she or he goes there, they are all thinking about. So coming back to your question, ma'am, he has to think whether it is a wife or a colleague, it's an equal partner, it's a human being.
After that, I have a question for Kanika ji. So what's your thought that what we have discussed right now is just telling the boys that you have to be in the mainstream. But at the same time, sometimes don't you think taking a back seat is a good kind of a decision? I'm not referring to male or female, but if I am for some matter taking a back seat, what's the disadvantage?
I would say it's an individual choice to take the back seat or not. When it comes to workplace, if you're working, then I think there shouldn't be a backseat at all, because you're investing your time, your energy, your future in something, right? So having said that, talking about not about men, women, but it's all about your how your future goals, how you have defined your future goals, what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve. Everyone has different strategy, right? Someone would be happy working in a role that that they think, okay, this is fine, I'm done with it, there's nothing more than that. But there are women leaders and leaders in general who would do different things and would want to achieve different things, even if, some, my opinion or my take is that you always can't do big things. You can do small things in big ways. So, yes, I think I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah, Pragya wants to. Yeah.
So here is my thought around it. I'll like to give you an example. Especially, let's say, I'll narrate my own personal example here. When I had my daughter 8 years back, she's 8 years old now. My mother-in-law told me that Rahul, who's my husband, he's earning really well. He is also an IM graduate. So she told me that he's earning very well and we are financially in a very good place. What is the need for you to work? You can concentrate on bringing up the daughter. I was also not, too against that point of view. I thought, yes, why not? He's doing well. I can take time off. But I was a very ambitious soul from within, and I started putting that pressure on my husband that, you should be this, you should be that. And he had a very interesting and a candid conversation with me. He said, Pragya, don't put your ambition, the burden of your ambition on me. You can be whatever you want to be. And I would love for all the men sitting in the room to be a husband like that. You don't need to take the burden of her ambition. And you rather can support someone to be the earning member, not just the earning member, but the successful member of your family. And now, let's say today, if I'm successful or I'm sitting here addressing all of you, if a family has that income, the two people earning really well, who is it benefiting? It is benefiting the family, it is benefiting the children. It is the dual income that benefits everyone. So don't think about the short term. At that point of time, especially after maternity, is when your wife or your sister, or after a very long time, maybe your daughter, that is the time of life when she needs the maximum amount of encouragement to get back there and hit the work. And to your question, should we take the back seat? And what is the harm in taking the back seat? And absolutely rightly said by Kanika, it's a personal choice. But this is not the choice that I subscribe to. The reason why I don't subscribe to this choice is because we also run a lot of back to work programs where we call women after a break and we give them opportunities to pick up career. At that point of time, they do pick up the opportunity, they take the job. Immediately after a few months, they start having the conversation with HR or their managers, start telling them that, Pragya, I would have deserved to be at this level. Why am I hired at this level? And I need to have this very difficult conversation with them that, sweetheart, you missed 5 years of your career. You missed it. You missed it by choice. I want to let them know that if you're taking that choice, it does put you at a disadvantageous position later on. So at that point of time, when you need that support, you can look out for that support. You can look at your mother or mother-in-law or any kind of support, the crush, the daycares, your husband. And if they can step in to give you that support, you don't need to take the back seat.
Also, I just want to add one point. Self-motivation and deriving your happiness is very, very important. I should be in a position that I don't need anybody's motivation to keep me motivated. Of course, I need my good people around me, my people who take care of me, who support me. But end of the day, it is me individually what I want to achieve. Women are not living with their husbands, they're single mothers. They are bringing up their children on their own, so it takes a lot, but then it is your self motivation to do things, even in small way. I'm repeating it again and again. You don't have to be thinking of achieving big all the time, because it takes a lot. You have to sacrifice a lot to be there. So yeah, so happiness, in today's session before this, they were talking about happiness. And once I remember telling my Jiju that happiness, your happiness is in your hands. So whatever happens, we need to make sure that we have to be happy and make others happy by being happy.
So the next point that I am bringing up is a common question to which my colleagues from IIM Jammu, the female colleagues, would also resonate because we also discuss sometimes. So, do you envy the other side of the people who are non-working women sometime in life?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Being on this side is very
Very
empowering, very
amazing.
empowering.
Yeah.
It's, you are the steward of the ship. Why would you like someone to drive the ship for you? And again, as Kanika said, it's a personal choice. Someone has made a choice, let them enjoy that choice. But if I have not made that choice, let me be happy with my choice.
It's a great thought that what makes you happy, whatever makes you happy, is the takeaway that we should have from here. Okay, so when we talk about the organizational structures, there are certain directives that the government gives, that every panel should have these many women, every hierarchical structure should have the inclusion of women at various stratas or various levels. So do you think when we talk about the leadership roles, we are given this as dummy roles because we are female?
No.
Can
Back to the West state, we are not equal. We have to push the targets, because if you will not push the targets, it will never happen. I'll just give a simple example. You need to have 2% of independent directors on the board. Look at the boards today. They're all men. And what do people do? They, the promoters and everyone, they will call their relatives so and so. Now the thing is, over a period of time, the mandate is increasing. Government has said that you have to pass through an exam to become an independent director. You need to have a set of qualifications. So it is not dummy. It is to push the process of correction. In the process of correction, you may have dummies as well.
And there's a merit to everything now. It's a competitive world, and you need to prove day in, day out. So it's even if you're a girl, woman.
Haven't you heard some of your colleagues saying that you are here because you are a woman and not because of the extreme qualifications that you had? In fact, in comparison to them, or at times higher than them, then also they'll not refrain from saying that you are here because it's a gender which is qualifying you.
We have to break that.
Who wants to add something?
So I come from an organization where the chairman and the CEO of the organization was Indra Nooyi. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. So PepsiCo was headed by Indra Nooyi. Now, Indra Nooyi didn't get that job because she was a woman. She got it because an organization like PepsiCo, which is a world leader in convenient foods and beverages, they're not going to put a person there for the sake of it. They're going to put a woman there if she's capable to make that organization world's best organization, if she's capable of pushing the share prices up year on year, if she's capable of bringing in efficiencies every year. So I think in this world that we are in, and where we started the conversation by you asking that these numbers are put in as dummy numbers. Even in our organization, we have an extremely strong target of making or bringing gender diversity or gender parity, which is 50-50 in managerial roles and above. So in managerial and leadership roles, we want to be in parity at 50%, which is unheard of in the industry. You heard the industry numbers here in the panel itself. Some organizations are at 20 or 30 or dwindling down to 15%. We want to be at 50% in gender diversity. So the question that you asked is really pertinent. A lot of times, even when someone is extremely deserving, the question is asked that, are you there because you are a woman? Yes, those questions are very real. Even if they are not worded or if they are not said out loud, you can hear it in their minds that you are sitting here amongst us because you're a woman. If as PepsiCo, we didn't have a target of having 50% people or 50% women in leadership roles or managerial roles, maybe we won't have had as many. Well, at that point of time, you should sit there with conviction, with the fact that you're here because you deserve to be here. You should sit there with a mindset that you can make a difference. If you weren't making a difference, a commercial organization like PepsiCo, a commercial organization that is profit driven, is bound to reply back to its shareholders, is responsible for increasing its share prices, is not going to take an action just for the sake of it. It is making that action because it actually creates a difference. It makes a difference in how our products are perceived in the market, how our organization is perceived in the market. And every time when you're opening a Pepsi bottle or a Lay's packet, if you can feel the whole process that goes behind it, I'm sure you're not just sipping or taking a bite of what a man thinks is right, but it's also what a woman thinks is right. And hence, in PepsiCo, you would see that, we've worked to reduce the sugar content in our products. We've worked to reduce the salt and the oil contents in the products. All of this is coming because women are generally nurturing in their capability, and the concept of health and well-being comes so easily to them. And the fact that when we say that, hey, we are selling products which could be fattening, and our kids are opening those packets every day. Every day, my daughter is opening a Lay's packet or a Kurkure packet. And if they are opening that Lay's packet and a Kurkure packet, I am worried that what is the kind of salt and oil content or sugar content that's getting inside of her. So it is important to get these women in place, and women should sit there with conviction.
Yeah, in fact, I would like to direct one thing to Neelamji. When you hear these, not so pronounced statements, how to deal with them? They are underlying, you understand it, nobody speaks, but speaks through eyes. How do you deal with that?
So I'll come to this question a little later. I will first tell, I come from the IT world of the, IT is, I come from IT capital, Bangalore. And the IT, I'm just adding on to the previous question where, we don't look at the dummy, women as the dummy over there, because it's like something which we need to develop, which we need a IT product. We don't care whether it's a woman or a man, something which has to be delivered, it has to be delivered. If you're a woman architect, if you're a woman, product manager, you need to deliver certain things. So you can't be dummy. So yes, now coming to your other question where certain thing, you could just repeat the question again.
So I was referring to, in case if you hear those, underlying statements through the eyes of your colleagues, how do you deal with that?
So for me as a person, because in IT industry, we don't have so much of these kind of, facts which I face. I think it is more of the other industry where, you come up with such situations. So I don't have a lot of, I can't relate these kind of situation. Maybe someone from the panel can add on in this.
I think the important thing is it's not about you. It's about the person who's making the comment. That is first thing, because, if he or she is making comment, it's what is coming from his or her programming. The first thought should be pity them. They are coming from a place where they can think that way. Second thought you should have is smile and be proud about yourself. Why? You're making somebody jealous. And third is you are there because you were supposed to be there. I think we should develop our mindset that way.
And you've deserved to be there, actually.
Vita wants to add.
Yeah, I would just say, let them do the talking. You do your work, and your action should speak. You're not there to justify anyone that why you are here. If your work is speaking for you, there's no one can stop you, and you would continue doing the great things. So don't pay attention there.
Yeah, I'll add here, because people are talking, that means you're doing well. You know that.
So maybe we had a very big round of applause when somebody talked about male things. So let's be more judicious. And we should have some round of applause for the comments that are, gender specific, and especially for the females. Although we have lesser in count when it comes to the audience.
Today morning, I was, talking to the students. I was saying that you should have men, assigned for this topic. Why you have all the women for this topic? But then, yeah, but I must say that men are inspired by women nowadays. It's just not that they do care, they respect. In this house, I can only see male faces. I don't know. I have to figure out female faces. So the onus is on you to take care of this and, respect and be humble and think what the opposite side must be facing. So very, very important.
At the same time, the less representative population, which is female, they also have to think about the guys, what they think, what they need, because somewhere we are getting that support from everyone. talking about increasing and improving it. Let the best win, but at the same time, please be considerate. I know this topic is more for talking about women empowerment, equality, and all that. But at the same time, we see that
Today's Men's
Yeah,
Day.
so
I
both
think.
have
So
to help
happy
each other.
Men's Day. It's Men's Day today. It's International Men's Day today.
So we are talking wrong topic on the wrong, correct.
Not really. We, in fact, are trying to strike a balance.
Yeah.
Because if the other party doesn't know what ails us, the
So
policy
I put it in the
formulation-
other way, right topic on the right day.
Yeah, that's correct. Very, very correct. Okay, so moving on, like you said that we should have had male members contributing their part. So have you ever thought about the male counterparts? How do they think? Like when it comes to certain decisions, if you talk about a company, the objective of the company is to create profit. I am a workforce which might take maternity leaves, which might ask for frequent half day leaves. I can say it's my child's birthday and it is more important to me at times. I can say my son is not well, my daughter is not well, so please consider it. Are we somewhere, not behaving the way we should be doing when it comes to professional engagement? What are your thoughts on that?
We had a team where there were, of course, there were all men, and there was one lady who had come from maternity leave, and she used to come by 7 a.m. and she would finish her work by 2. It is before the COVID era, and she would leave. And suddenly, one of the colleagues who went to the manager and said, boss, यहाँ पे क्या चल रहा है? What is this flexi all about? 2 बजे निकल जाती है. So he came to me. I was the managing HR of that unit. I said, what happened? He said, no, they're all complaining. I said, do one thing. Just give them, see the target achievement at the end of the month. You have the KPIs, you have OKRs. Just don't tell them, listen to them. And he actually did an analysis. And in the analysis, what was interesting was to see that she was able to deliver more than the others. She was not going on smoke breaks. She was finishing everything at her home and coming to office by 7 a.m. She had a guilt that she's leaving by 2 because she will not be here till 6. So I think from an organization's perspective, we have to start creating meritocratic performance management models. It's not about the number of hours you spend, right? It's about what you really deliver at the end of the day. And thankfully, to a large extent, pandemic has helped this, this notion of physically being present, seeing time, that has gone off, but it has to still evolve a lot more.
Yes, I would totally agree with Ritu that, we should not look at the number of hours, but what you need to deliver in whatever responsibility you've given. And if you are able to deliver, that's what you have to be measured on, not on the number of hours. I just remembered one example here. This is way beyond many years back when I was pregnant and I was carrying and I was just a recruiter, a very young recruiter. And I had to go and do a massive drive where on a weekend. And I was almost in my 9th month. And my boss, because it was my responsibility, my boss said, you decide what you have to do. And I could see that some of the male partners, they were like, okay, it's your drive, you take care. They did not show that courtesy that, okay, they could do instead of me. I thought, okay, fine, forget it. And I just went ahead and I did my job perfectly. But I could see, some of the people in the other side who were seeing that, okay, she's come with such a big stomach and doing all this job. Somebody else could have done this. But believe me, I did fantastic job. And as Ritu said, whenever a woman is in these kind of situation, she makes sure she delivers in the other, she balances her time because she has that guilt. Okay, I have to take off because of this XYZ reason. So I will do it in the other time. I will deliver it. So I think anybody should be measured what they have to deliver, not on the timeline. That is very important.
Okay, so moving forward, since we have paucity of time, one last question from my side for Pragya. So when we talk about bigger organizations, they have the flexibility of having or accommodating, diversity kind of a thing, because they also have to create gender diversity and they have the scope of doing it. But how they can, nurture the smaller organizations to, carry forward or bring up the initiatives of that sort?
Thanks again. Thanks, Meenakshi. This is a wonderful question. So, first of all, just picking up from your question, it's not that the larger organizations have a scope for gender diversity. It's their need. And I think that's what everyone should start realizing, that it's not that I can do it. It's not the nice thing to do. It is not the good thing to do. It is something that we have to do in the interest of the organization. Like we started this conversation right up front, 48% of our entire talent pool is female. If 48% of our entire talent pool is female, and if we just rely on the remaining part of it, which is 52% of the talent pool, aren't we looking at a very myopic view? Don't we have such a myopic view that we're cutting off such a huge pool out of our sight? So from a large organization standpoint, yes, we focus a lot on diversity because this is not just the right thing to do, but the right thing to do for our organization and even for our profitability. And coming to the second part of your question, how can we encourage smaller organizations and what can we do to bring them up and how can we get them to start understanding the meaning of diversity? So let me tell you, PepsiCo has three key parts, which is make, move, and sell. Make is you make your products, you make PepsiCo, you make Lay's, you make Kurkure. Second is you move them to the shops and to the distribution centers. The third is you sell them. Okay, this is it. This is our business, make, move, and sell. And when you look at this distribution cycle, you will understand that at every stage, we are involved very heavily with smaller businesses, initially to begin with potato farmers or sugarcane farmers. Yeah, we have to acquire a large portion of our crop from potato and sugarcane farmers, then bottling plants. Bottling plants have been entirely outsourced. Movement, the transit of the goods. You can understand the entire distribution cycle has to be outsourced. Then the selling part of it, the person who stands on the counter is not a PepsiCo employee. Yeah. At every given step of the game, we are dealing with lots and lots of small individual business owners or small companies. And we make sure that as a large organization, we are not just bringing in diversity in our organization, we are encouraging them to be diverse as well. So we actively, by numbers, because in PepsiCo, we believe that anything that is not measured is not done. And so it's not really dummy numbers, but it just helps us in keeping track of those numbers. We ensure that the businesses that we engage with should have a certain X amount of female representations, or nowadays even LGBTQ. We are not limited to female alone. And we are saying that, hey, we need businesses which have LGBTQ representation in them as well. And then we do business with them. By doing this, if a large organization of our scale and size indulges in doing that, it brings about a ripple effect. It has an impact on the society. It has an impact on the culture, because that's when people start thinking that, okay, my daughter can do something. Just during the pandemic time, and we were talking about it, that a lot of women were pushed out of the employment because of pandemic. And I'm talking about the women in underserved communities, women from poorer segments. During that time, PepsiCo in Telangana established a lot of eye gel stations. These were nothing but water purifying centers in villages, because in villages, people drink impure water and then they get affected by the disease a lot more. In all these 68 eye gel stations that use the best in class purifying machinery donated by PepsiCo, because our products are such that we use purifying machines, right? All those 68 eye gel stations were manned or employed by the villagers, the females in those villages. So there are lots of ways in which an organization can impact the community or society at large. And PepsiCo is doing a lot globally, as well as in India, starting from potato farmers to sugarcane farmers to right in the end of the supply chain.
Great to hear. Now I would like to open this discussion to the audience. Any questions from the audience? Can I have some show of hands? One question. Please hand over a mic to the student.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My question is, since we all know that, how human resources department will actually tackle the gender diversity after management?
So I think Namita wants to answer that. Yeah.
So your question is, for the benefit of the audience sitting, towards the back of the hall, your question is that how organizations are helping in upper management diversity. Okay. So I think first of all, what companies are trying to do is to stop that leakage in between itself of people not getting into, having that continuity. Basically, the leakage, which is like because of the career event or the life events, they try to do that. Some of the other things that they're trying to do is that providing that sort of comfort, especially physiologically, if you talk about, we all are different, right? Yes, mental abilities and all we talk about, but there are certain needs as a woman that we might have, as you also shared that we have our biological things and so many other things, hygiene and everything. When an organization is investing in a woman to continue their career, they have to also ensure that they are providing that infrastructure to them. That infrastructure is not like the brick or mortar, but also here, providing that differences, equipping them so that they can look forward to come to the work without having any sort of anxiety in their mind, just to say that holding the bladder for long, right? Because there is no facilities as such. So this is like the basic hygiene side of it. The other side is how you are empowering them and in giving that continuation in the middle management itself, so that they can look up to the next level of position. As I shared with all of you, that we as an organization encourage everyone to apply for the roles, not keeping themselves thinking that I am happy, I'm content, and I should not be looking at. As a manager, they have been given the trainings to infuse that set of what you call the accountability and the motivation that if there is a role opened up, it's going to be an equal one, competitive hiring process, right? Internal movement also. So those things is just not on the paper. We are as an organization practicing those so that everyone is giving the fair share of their opportunities. And that's how you are trying to curb that leakage during your life events, by providing that sort of flexibility and environment. And then also ensuring that when there's an opportunity there, you are encouraging them, managers are trained, they are able to apply for those. And then once they're at the leadership role, as you asked, like they should not be dummy, right? Which is the case. They have a say in the management. They are able to articulate without having any fear of how they are being judged, right? And it's all about the action. So companies are making those changes, whether it's infrastructure changes, whether it's a mindful changes, whether it's opportunity changes, whether it's socializing and making sure that employees on the organization are aware of it.
And if I may add just one little thing. So there's an interesting new concept that we brought about. It is called as if she can see it, she can be it. This is a mentoring platform that we've launched, and we have assigned a lot of mid-managers, a lot of mid-female managers, and we've assigned them global mentors who are in very senior leadership roles. So for example, even I have a mentor. And these mentors, who could be in very, very senior roles as senior vice presidents or managing directors themselves, they are grooming this mid-management layer of females so that they can be ready to be leaders. So investing in that layer is important. And like I said, this comes with a very, very simple motto that if she can see it, she can be it. So just knowing how to do it is important.
So being diverse is a necessity nowadays, and the world has changed, organizations have changed. And that's the need of the hour. It's just not one formality that we need to do. We need to make organizations have a lot of strategies, as she said, that they have all these processes and new mentoring, coaching practices in the organization. So, and it's just not about gender diversity, it's about diversity in your thoughts, in your ideas, in innovation. So all of that is a mandate now. It's not a requirement. So
Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, there are two more questions. One from a faculty colleague of mine, Dr. Archana. Can somebody give her a mic? Dr. Archana is a faculty in the marketing area here. Yeah.
Thank you. And it was wonderful hearing all the women panelists here. I have one question to all the panelists here. Yes, you all said that do not take a break and do not take the back seat. But sometimes in your life, you have to take a break, not just because you're not that ambitious, because you have other priorities in life. Like you want to spend some time with your young kids. So what suggestions you have for the women and also for the organization, to the women who want to take the break and again come back and hit the world? So I wanted to hear from all of you.
It's a conscious choice. First of all, our life is an outcome of our decisions and choices we have made, right? Now, if you make a choice, see how can you engage yourself in learning during that time. It's not only about the professional experience, because if I have an intent that I will want to take a break for a year because of XYZ reasons, but I should see a goalpost after 1 or 2 years for me. So if I create a goalpost for that during that time for me, I take up a course. I do something which doesn't physically want me to be in the office, so that when I'm ready to hit back, I am not coming actually where these 2 years are in the space. They were providing some meaning. So I think first of all, we have to be, when we make choices, be ready for the outcomes. And when you also have clarity that how is it going to help me further, that should be done. Otherwise, if you do it by pressure, then you will not do this planning. So I would say planning is very, very important during this time.
I would like to add here, see, men go for careers because they are meant. Mentally, it is like, when they are born, it is decided, okay, they have to work. Women are ambitious. They are very ambitious. So if you're taking a break, the organizations have always, I take a lot of these kind of events where I welcome the women who have taken break and they come back. The only important thing is, as Ritu said, you have to update yourself. You have to keep updated. You can't attend, you want to come back, but you are not up to date. Then there is the lack. Then it's a competitive world. If you are equal, it doesn't matter if you have taken a break. So what? If you are equal to somebody who's in the organization for a long time, and you have taken a break and you have come back, you have updated yourself, you're there. You don't have to worry about it. Break can be taken by anybody. It can be a man and a woman. It's again a choice.
But adding to her question, do organizations have this comeback sort of a policy?
Yes.
So
Lot of
there is
policies.
Okay,
Yes.
great. That's good to know. Maybe
we have, like,
directives for our
common-
young managers. Yeah, Dr. Mahima also has a question, and even Dr. Mamta. So now we have more show of hands, especially from the lady faculty.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Mahina Nenna. So I'm a work family researcher. I was wondering, I wanted to ask you how easy you think it is for men to take a break, because, we've been talking about refugee, especially challenging our mental map. It's extremely hard for men to take a break as well. Yes, especially if they are taking it to take care of their health and personal reasons. It's extremely hard.
I first time heard this word house husband from them. I had never heard. And one of my colleagues, she got relocated from one country to another country. So I said, how are you going to manage? He said, no, my husband is at home, and she had 3 kids. It's very difficult for us here in India, and especially in the emerging world, because we are brought up like that. But the question is that a loss of hope? Hope is everyone sitting in this room, for sure. Because they are the ones who will start pushing and thinking differently. that it's not about her. And I really love the answer which you gave about Kanika gave about, the conversation which she had with the husband, right? Eventually, acceptance of women is about us. And of course, it will not come easily. These are deep-rooted things.
Can I add something to this? And especially on today when it is Men's Day, right? In our society actually puts a lot of pressure on men. We've spoken a lot about women today, but there is a lot of mental pressure and pressure to be the primary breadwinner, right? At any given point of time, I mean, they are also human beings like us, and they may want to take a break. At that point of time, if you have a supporting partner, a partner who's financially independent, a partner who can support you and your family in getting that income through the door, you can definitely take a break. I think the moment we come to a society or a place where we have both the partners financially independent and bringing that income back to the home, this kind of flexibility will lie with both, with men and with women, to take a small break and then get back to career. Men are stressed out. The number of heart attacks in men are far more. I think in the month of November, it is also a month of cancer awareness. And I think we talk a lot about Movember because men sort of they keep the bear just for the cancer awareness program. So essentially, long story short of it is that if we created a scenario or a social economic situation where men and women were both in the workspace earning equal incomes, then I think men would also be able to take the break.
And I think globally it's already there, like the concept of house husband, which is not there in India, but I think we are influenced by a lot of other things with Western culture, and I'm sure we have the hope of, when we fill up the forms, we always have that, okay, your mother, housewife, but we never have that house husband. I'm very sure very soon we will have.
Yeah,
this.
women have to support men in this as well, because they don't whatever. I have in my organization men who take care of their children. They want a certain shift so that, morning shift, evening shift, so that the household, chores are taken care of. So there are men who are now flexible. They move with their partners abroad. They leave their job because the wife is getting a job outside, and then they would want to settle down. So things are changing. It's just that we need to make effort day by day.
Can I just ask one question here? And this is a question to the audience. And I would like to get some answer from the audience first. The question was why a male counterpart or husband cannot take a break, or the guy cannot take a break. Tell me, how many of you feel that you can be, be at home and have your, your better half to be working? If you can just raise your hand. Okay.
Hands, I would say.
Yeah, I feel it is like 30 to 40%. With the raised hands out, those
we all are thrilled with this session.
Yeah? No, I'm just trying to answer this question. So we did not see the 100% here. And it is because somewhere each one of us are here to take care of the responsibility that we'll have. And we are seasoned from the childhood like this.
Yeah, students.
Glad to see. Sorry if I have disturbed the calmness of the room by asking this question. But if 30-40% are now saying this, imagine if I had asked this question 5 years back, I don't think even a single hand would have been raised. So now we are reaching to that level, and somewhere you also know that it is becoming possible because there is a representation from the other side, which is the female side of it, is also started coming. And as you said, like if they both are equally earning, somewhere you are able to provide that financial cover. That's when the husband can also, or the male can also take a break. So I think it's a journey. Again, some of the questions that I said, it's a journey that we are undertaking, but it is something which has to be changed now. And that can only be changed when the other side of it is also being able to, provide that kind of support and comfort. Because the way we were seasoned from a very remote town, that our friends are housewife having 2-3 kids. And I was also seasoned like that. So here, most of us are seasoned like that a girl, if not working, is still okay, but a guy has to continue working. And that 30% may change to 100% at a certain time when both can work, and it is provided that change from the childhood, from the beginning itself by the parents.
So my father still says that लड़कियों को नौकरी करने की जरूरत नहीं होती, and I've been working since many years, but that mindset is still there that if you can be comfortable, why not be comfortable with kids? You know, invest in your kids, make their life. So it's not necessary for girls to work, but then still we have to break this mindset for,
See,
you know,
the
so that they
discussion-
also think that men can perform the same duties as women do. They can take care of the kitchen and other things, but yeah,
Yeah, so the discussion can go endless, but I am getting too many prompts from the computers here saying that, ma'am, we have to wrap it up. So I'm really sorry for those unanswered questions, and I understand that this can go till evening and maybe continue till tomorrow also, because we are touching a very sensitive topic. But I think just to conclude this session, there are certain things that I have learned, which I'll carry forward from here now onwards. And I think the generation that had a rich show of hands for those, for being those husbands or wives who would be happy, you know, quitting job and also allowing the other partner to be taking a career or a break or anything of their own choice. So to sum it up, there are things that we should take as food for thought. One thing is that women somewhere are contributing, but that is passive contribution. When you give a child a birth, it's actually creating a nation, the generation of future. Probably somewhere in our society, we have forgotten that contribution, and we say that the major contribution is only when we are earning something, when we are financially free. That's actually the wrong description somewhere that has seeped in. Second is, we did not have that pressure of performance every time, either be a male or a female. The decision has to be, especially when we talk about those well-read, well-educated and informed people, we have this freedom of making choices. So the choices should be driven by our own source of happiness, our own definitions of happiness, not by what society drives or how others perceive us. We can defy our parents also at times when they say that working is not required, but we can also defy our partner saying that if you want to quit, no problem, I'll allow you. So this is the kind of freedom to, or the kind of freedom of thought that we look forward in the coming days. Third is, we are a part of society. So let's not get into a race. Let's get into a cooperation mode. The other party is exerting, and that's true not only for male, it's true for female and both the parties, I would say. So when there is all women panel, and then also we are able to sense it, that there is something on which we are being, you know, agnostic towards the male pressure that they are undergoing. So that's the kind of culture that should evolve, and we should not follow that rat race. Better to contribute to the societal structure, and the grooming has to start right now. So the managers of tomorrow, whatever has been your learning so far, I am sure your mothers have brought you up really well. But please realize that there is other party seated along with you somewhere in this room, which requires a lot of support, a lot of mental remapping in case if it's not mapped that way. So I would say remapping. And some of you who already have that mapping, you actually are a blessing to the society. So with this, I would like to close the session. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
That was truly thought-provoking discussion. The insights beautifully put forward by our esteemed panelists has surely mapped the uncharted routes and given rise to new schools of thought. The thoughts of preconditioned mental model, the perceptions the organizations need to challenge, the compensation equality, which is still a concern and not a fact. We should never question our capabilities and never shy away from putting up questions.
With such an interactive session, I'm sure our students had much to learn from this. Now, we request Dr. Meenakshi Kumari ma'am to present the guests with mementos of gratitude. Please, ma'am.
We look forward to continuing beyond this event, the very stimulating and instructive exchange of ideas we had today. Esteemed panelists and dignitaries, you may please proceed to have your lunch now.
Students, please sit down. Students. Students, please wait for the dignitaries to proceed first, then you will disturb us. Yes, ma'am. The students may disperse now for lunch. Also, strictly adhering to the schedule, be back in the room by 2020. Be back in the room by 2020 again for the attendance.
Hey, did you know that pivot? I'm from the corporate communications committee. I wanted to ask how was the journey till now here and Jammu? Pointers for people who are going into a corporate world.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. I'm from the Corporate Commissions Committee, and we welcome you here. Ma'am, can you tell us something about how your journey has been till now in I'm Jammu?
So it has been very good. I should say excellent. Definitely, when I started from Bangalore, there had been some glitches about my travel. But once I reached Jammu and once I was in hands of the IIM Jammu students, I've been taken care very well. And the panel discussion was really awesome.
Ma'am, can you tell us something about the latest trends that are going on in HR?
So, see, HR, when you look at IT corporate world, it's more like, we are very particular about you perform, you are there. Okay. And I work for a company called Zycus, where we believe in innovation. And today's world is not about the number of years of experience. It's about
Always scan this section.
about your innovation or your performance and your that is what is the trend, and that's what we look in an HR interview also. I don't look at okay, this person is having 10 years of experience or 4 years of experience. I look what the person can bring to the table. That is what is important.
Ma'am, something about how what people are going into the industry from I'm Jammu this year. So some pointers for them.
Keep yourself updated to the technology because today's technology world, and if you don't update yourself then you will be behind. So make sure you are updated with the latest technologies so that you are there in the competition, and it's a competitive world. So why not be ahead of the competition? And that's what is to all the students. And I'm very sure Jammu students are capable and you will do well wherever you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wise words, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming here. Very good afternoon, good afternoon, ma'am. How has your journey been?
The journey is extremely nice, very pleasant. I'm delighted by the interest that is showcased by the organization in calling the industry folks to speak to you and understand from us what our experiences have been. The panel discussion was really insightful. The questions were very meaningful and pertinent. The student participation, and I've been interacting with your industry interaction cell. It is great to work with them. I think all of them are extremely professional and mature, and they share this professionalism that is extremely nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Changing a tempo a little bit, can you tell us some latest trends that are ongoing in HR?
Again, a wonderful question. So one of the latest trends that I'm experiencing in HR is where is your workforce based out of? So till the longest period of time when we were working, our workforce was based out of the same city or same location where our offices were situated, because all of us were going to an office and doing our work from there. In last 2 years, the pandemic, it has been a great learning for most organizations where we've learned that the work can actually happen from anywhere. And a lot of our people, more than 60% of our people were based out of different cities, or they relocated back to their hometowns during pandemic. I think this is a very interesting trend that is coming up in the market. And 2 years has been a very pertinent case for work from home or work that can be done from anywhere. I think this is one of the latest.
Putting your experience into the work, can you suggest like some pointers to the recent graduates of Jammu who are going into the corporate world for the first time? What would be your pointers to a professional, like a young professional person who is stepping into the corporate world for the first time?
My advice to a young professional who's stepping into the corporate world for the first time is to remain agile. When I say agile, it essentially means that you should be ready for change. Nothing remains consistent in the industry. So you should be ready to adapt whatever comes your way. Pandemic was not something that any one of us had seen in 10 or 12 years of our career, and it happened. The second advice that I would give you is to remain open for learning, which is similar to being agile, but just being a bit more open to learning, actually looking out there, going out there, constantly building capability. The third one is to always keep your egos a little low, because when we join from a good institute, especially people who are from, let's say, I am. Sometimes we walk in with a certain air, and we think that the organization needs to do a lot more to deserve us. It's the other way around. You need to do a lot more to deserve the organization and to be in that job. And sometimes people who are not from such good institutes, they're working much harder just to prove that point that they can do better. And now the organizations are breaking these barriers and these shackles that they had in the mind that a person with a certain pedigree can do really well. Now, no longer so. This is another good trend that is coming up. So a person who can be a plain BCom graduate, if he or she is really putting himself or herself out there and doing, getting the results for the organization, I don't think organizations now worry about the pedigree as much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out your time and giving us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Hello, hello. All the students are requested to come to the hall, please.
Hello, mic test. Hello.
All the students are requested to please take the seats as event is going to be started.
Students are requested to settle down quickly.
It has been one of my cherished dream that for postgraduate study and for the maintenance of high standards of medical education in our country, we should have an institute of this nature, which would enable our young men and women to have their postgraduate education in our country.
What was that, Ivanshi?
Oh, that was the quote from Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, which she delivered in Lok Sabha in 1956 while presenting the All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences Bill, and that was the cornerstone of higher medical education in India.
Oh, so that's how AIMS was born. And today it continues to be an exemplar of healthcare in India.
Yes, and in the spirit of caregivers of India, today I am Jammu, AIMS Jammu, and IIT Jammu have come together to offer this one of its kind MBA in hospital administration and healthcare management to groom the managers in healthcare industry of India.
But how does that fare out when the talented medics of India leave our country to pursue better opportunities abroad?
Exactly. So that's why we have this prodigious panel discussion on plugging the brain drain today, which refers to the emigration and immigration of individuals to another country in search of better work opportunities.
India is currently sitting on one of the most valuable resources in the world, a young population just entering the workforce. Hence, it is of paramount importance for us that we take imminent steps and measures.
So today, our first speaker for the second panel is Ms. Sugandha Jain, a thorough HR professional who thrives on building great places to work and an HR setup. She has rich experience in finding and building talent and setting up the robust policies and processes. She has also exposure to working in a global environment with large organizations. She is a Commerce Honors graduate and completed her MBA with dual specialization in HR. Please, ma'am, please have a seat. Welcome.
The second speaker for this panel is Ms. Neha Lal, who is a certified NABH counselor for healthcare organizations. She completed her graduation in B Pharma and post-graduation in MBA Hospital Management and holds a professional certificate in hospital management from IIM Bangalore. She is a proactive change who spends time in employee environment, encouraging learning and promoting productivity, which results in value-added services. She has an experience of over 10 years in the healthcare industry and now works for GCS Medical College Hospital and Research Center as a Senior General Manager in Operations and HR. Welcome, ma'am. Please have a seat.
The third speaker for this panel is Mr. Pradeep Singh Rathore. He completed his BSc in Zoology and Animal Biology from Chhatrapati Sahoji Maharaj Kanpur University and completed his post-graduation in MSc from Kanpur University. He has worked in Sun Pharma in 1999 and has later worked in Lupin, Instant, Abbott, and Zydus. With an experience of 23 enchanting years, he has made his mark in the healthcare sector of the country. Welcome, sir. Please have a seat.
The fourth speaker for this panel is Mr. Arvind Mahajan, who is the HR unit head at Shri Mata Vaishno Devi Narayana Super Specialty Hospital. Previously, he headed the unit HR function of Paras Hospitals in Panchkula. He is an electronics and communication engineer with an MBA in HR from IMI Delhi. He has more than 12 years of experience in the HR domain in several companies like Jindal Steel and Power Limited, Hindustan Petroleum, Bharat Petroleum, Paras Hospitals, Lovely Professional University, and Narayana Health in various geographies of India. Welcome, sir. Please have a seat.
The final speaker for this panel is Dr. Santosh Kumar, and I am Indore alumnus with 18 years of experience in healthcare and pharma industry. He completed his MD in clinical pharmacology from First Moscow State Medical University and also completed NHS fellowship in chemotherapy from King George College, London. Welcome, sir. Please have a seat.
Now I'd like to invite Dr. Ashish, the moderator of the panel and the faculty of IIM Jammu. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Baljit Singh, co-chairperson of Placements IIM Jammu, to please present the token of gratitude to our panel members. So let's start with this dynamic panel discussion. For this, I would like to request Dr. Ashish Kumar to help us drive the flow of the event. He's the panel moderator and he will take this forward. The stage is yours, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, before I begin, can I have a huge round of applause for the panel over here, please? Thank you very much. Now, the objective of doing that was twofold. I want to see whether anybody is sleeping or not, because the panel has the biggest problem is that we are moderating it post-lunch. Normally, going by the past experience, students in the post-lunch session are a little bit dull. So I wanted to make sure that all of you are kind of awake and alert on that side. I'll keep on because Balji sir told me to keep a hat of moderator as well as the hat of my chairperson also of student affairs. So I'll keep on coming back to you people in between also to make sure that you're not drifting away during the sessions. I'll make it sure. Okay. Now, when I looked at the topic, I was just having a light word with Dr. Baljit earlier today that who in IIM Jammu, especially in the industry interaction cell, has some link to Canadian government. And he said, nobody, because I'm not sure how many of you have gone through the newspaper or not, but there was a recent news, which was not even, I can say recent, I can say just yesterday's news in Times of India, and which says Canada expands PR route to people in 16 new occupations. And the first one is healthcare professionals. And that makes this topic too much of relevance, looking at what the world is thinking about, because the article talks about that they've started thinking that how they can bring people from the emerging nations like India or the third world countries to the Western world to do the jobs, especially that article talks about two of the prime professions from India. One is they're talking about the healthcare professionals. The other, they're talking about the logistics or the trucking kind of community and all those kind of things. So they talked about how these two domains may face a crisis going forward, that how people will be available in that sector or not. So that makes this panel so much relevant, keeping in mind that what the Western world is thinking about going forward, because that is something which they've done it, that this is the sectors in which they want more people to come through permanent residency. And that term of PR attracts a lot of Indians per se, because that is something which we talk about. Now, before we go ahead with the panel and all those things, I'll just give you 2 cents of my own thinking on this topic. Do you know approximately how many Indians have the highest diaspora across the globe? Approximately 18 million Indians are staying outside. Person of Indian origin are staying in different countries across the globe. That is approximately 63% more than the nearest exporter of maybe the human capital, that is Mexico. They have 11 billion. India has 18 million. Now, if you look at that kind of a number, we start thinking, why do we have people traveling abroad and all those kind of things and having so much of thinking about that they want to go and settle abroad? Now, if you ask me, I have at one point of time, I was very eagerly looking to be one of that person also. Maybe a personal tragedy in my home that led to me staying in India at that point of time, but I was actively pursuing in the late 1990s that I wanted to go and abroad. There was too much of fight taking place at my home at that point of time. And then there was a personal tragedy at that point of time, because of which my thinking changed. Otherwise, I was hell-bent at that point of time that I want to go abroad and settle abroad. Now people start thinking that the traveling abroad or going abroad could be the reason that they want to have maybe a better kind of salary package and all those kind of things. But when I looked at some of the surveys, when I was doing the research for the topic which was given, I found out that approximately, if I look at the data point, 68% people leave India because of social injustice. That has nothing to do with career opportunities. 28% people leave because of safety and security. 23% leave because of the politics. And approximately 12% leave it because of the livability. So if I look at the whole picture, it is not because of only the job or the earning potential and all those things. What they're seeking outside is the quality of life. Now, in that scenario, when the people are exploring Western world countries to look after whether they want to stay over there or not, and I look at something because I belong to finance, but one of the areas which I do a lot of research is the core sectors of India. Two of the areas which I at times talk about most of the time is, one is education and the other is healthcare. Now, if I talk about it, and I'll discuss it later on going forward, and these two are the only sectors which have seen in the core sectors, which have seen reverse brain drain also. I'm not sure how many of you have followed that kind of a trend or not, but these two sectors, the education, not the primary one, but the higher education saw that. So we'll discuss that also as we go along. But these are the two sectors which even saw reverse brain drain also happening in India, which was something which was never thought of, that people leave India and go to the other shores to have a better quality of life, and they started thinking coming back also. But if I talk about India and the healthcare sector, the picture is not that good, frankly speaking. And I was talking earlier to Arvind that when you look at from the Narayan Hridyalaya point of view, are you able to get manpower which you require at a location like Katra? And he said we struggle on a daily basis. And that is something which is there. So if I look at in terms of healthcare sector in the Indian problem, India has approximately, I think 1.7 nurses for every 1,000 population of India. And doctors is 1:1,400 something, which is way above than what the WHO's requirement is. And in that scenario, we have, I'm not talking about the recent data because somehow the recent data or the data capturing in India in the last couple of years has not been that active from the government side. And secondly, because we don't have the migration data too much, so we at times miss out the data points. But if I talk about the last data point available, approximately 70,000 doctors and 56,000 trained nurses trained by Indian institutions are working abroad. In that kind of a scenario, when I talk about it, that means healthcare is one domain in which we have to start thinking about how can we make sure people to stay back. Now, there are many reasons which we'll discuss as we go along, but I thought I'll start the discussion with somebody who came back, had an opportunity to stay back in UK, decided to come back. He was trained over there. He studied over there. So he's a reverse brain drain. So I thought I'll start with him and ask him, what made you come back, Dr. Santosh? If you can just throw some light on that. I think it's, just check it.
Thanks, Dr. Ashish. It is nice to be here with all of you. And suggested by Dr. Ashish, based on the numbers and statistics, how Indian manpower and trained doctors, nurses aspire to go to US, Canada, or UK was really worrisome. But reverse brain drain is happening. During the past 5 to 10 years, it is happening. But earlier, every nurse or every doctor or every paramedic and management consultant or a management graduate aspire to go abroad because of various reasons. The main reason being salary. They wanted to earn more. Everyone wants to earn more, maybe 5 times or 10 times. And another is the quality of training and certification and many things. Then personal aspirations as well as professional aspirations. And the reason why I came back, I would like to tell first and then go to, because half of whatever the introduction was shared by Dr. Ashish based on the brain drain was almost covered. And I have studied in, I chose to study in Russia. And then I went to US to complete my residency program in California Hospital Medical Center. And there were a lot of nurses. You could, every you can say third or fourth nurse was an Indian. That was the kind of manpower in the US, either a Filipino or an Indian nurse, even paramedic for that case. That was the kind of manpower, that was the kind of volume that US attracted. But after 2010, US chose to ban, inviting Indian nurses and paramedics for their own reasons after Bush came in as a president. And now there are a lot of, you can find American nurses working there. That was the reason being why I came back is there is a lot of scope in India as compared to US or UK or UAE for that matter. And with the number of management colleges coming up in India and with the number of entrepreneurship, the encouragement for entrepreneurship, which is happening since past 3 to 5 years, whether it is a product, whether it is make in India or become in India, you can say every management college or even a technical college, IIT or IIM or any business school has got incubation center, and there is a lot of investment happening. I also chose to become an entrepreneur 10 years ago. I tried a small stint of 2 to 3 years, and that was too early for entrepreneurship. And there was no startup culture, no private equity and venture capitalists as compared to current scenario. There were only bankers. You had to choose to go to a bank, acquire a loan and pay EMIs, whether it is business, especially healthcare. So I had set up a small training center in clinical research and also training nurses and doctors on PLAB and USMLE. I was in fact encouraging doctors to go, and against the topic brain drain. So now I feel India has got a lot of potential in the past 5 to 7 years after a lot of management schools, a lot of hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, research centers. And now during the past 5 years, digital health has picked up tremendously. You might have heard about digital health, how during the past 5 years has grown, whether it is companies like 1MG, which has been acquired by Tata, or big mergers and similar big mergers and acquisitions are happening in digital health. Similarly, research is growing tremendously with pharmaceutical sponsors, pharmaceutical companies setting up their own in-house research centers, or a lot of outsourcing is happening from European and American market. The research is happening in India. The research center is in India, whereas research is coming or being outsourced from Europe and US. And there is huge scope at organizations, large organizations like Accenture, Deloitte, and Cognizant, or whoever. There are a number of companies, such companies who hire management graduates to manage those projects, such projects. Even any other life sciences company. That is true. And I have seen how hospitals have grown during the past 10 years. Even huge venture capital and private equity investments are happening in the hospitals as well. I was with Medanta, I had a chance to work with Medanta, and it was a startup. It is such a huge building, as compared to a 5-star facility. Now, when patients can afford to go to a 5-star hospital, and why not employees, why not doctors or healthcare management graduates choose to stay back in their own country and work for the country as well as, yes, it might take little time for someone who has come out of business school to grow to the next level, next hierarchy, whether it is package, whether it is terms of hierarchy, or whether it is in terms of salary. It might take 1 or 2 years, but I'm sure that India is better as compared to UAE or US or UK. If you would like to choose to work in those countries, especially in management, you will choose to work in India, is what I feel.
Now, you have talked about something which is very relevant, is if I talk about maybe how the workforce culture has also changed in India. If I talk about maybe my parents, they were, maybe I can say they were loyal because there were no opportunities. So even if the boss is something which is not so good, or in terms of at times it could be toxic bosses they've worked with. But if I look at the current generation, because of the mindset of India changing, like now they don't have the problems of financial security. So if you have this kind of a manpower coming into the system now, Neha ma'am, I'll ask you this question, is when you have this kind of a mindset, people coming into the system, and along with that, that the India is talking about too much of entrepreneurship opportunities like Atmanirbhar Bharat, how do you, what are the things which you keep in mind to retain such employees? And what are the challenges which HR, from an HR point of view, face to retain such kind of employees who don't look at salary primarily as a motivation factor?
Hello. Excuse me, I'm not much well, so you'll have to bear with my voice today. First of all, I thank Parth for having me here and for very good hospitality. And I'm very happy to be here among all of you in this HR conclave. Before I start my conversation, I just wish all the men and boys around a very happy International Men's Day. I could see a lot of men and boys here. So this is your day, and we salute you for your contribution to the society and family at large. Okay. So coming to this topic, that how do we retain the resources? Most of the data have been already spoken by Mr. Ashish. I'll just add 2 points to it before taking it. We have like 0.978 doctors available per 1,000 population and 1.789 nurses available for 1,000 population. We have got 5,000 hospital beds available for 10,000 population. Now you can see the shortage as well as the gaps within the industry. And up till now, the healthcare industry was very well-oiled infrastructure as well as service industry. But thanks to COVID 2.0, whole the country got stuck. And that's how we came to know where we are like. Up till now, we were thinking we are okay, doing fine. But then we saw that a lot of huge number of shortage of doctors and nurses we actually witness and experience all over the country. We are producing, because I'm coming from the medical college setup, we always keep on talking about how many students we actually get end of the day. So about 30 to 35,000 doctors we produce in the nation, and the demand is so huge. So still we have a gap to assure, and then also the brain drain is happening. That is not only the doctors, I would say the other healthcare professionals like nurses, paramedical technicians, healthcare management expertise, everyone wants to step out, mainly of course for the reasons we know, the better salary as well as what is behind. We know how our hospitals are working in a very pathetic condition. Sorry, I'm in this sector, I'm coming from the healthcare background, but it is very sad to know that hospitals are in very bad shape. There is no cutting edge technology. I think after COVID, we have seen, kind of a huge movement happening in the digitalization in the healthcare as well as using of the technology. And the third is, of course, we need to have some resolution from the government side to have the decent pay package for the healthcare professionals. When to answer your question that how do we retain